Hi guys, it's Wednesday, which means we are on YouTube and we are talking books. Today I'm going to spend a little time talking about something I haven't talked that much about yet, which is book design, which is just as important as all the other parts. I'm an editor myself, so I've spent a lot of my time talking to you about development editing, copy editing, proofreading, all of those sorts of things. But design is a critical part of your book too if you are going to self-publish. If done right, a self-published book is indiscernible from a traditionally published book. Emphasis on the if done right part. You may be tempted to lay it out yourself. You will especially be tempted to design a cover on your own, get a stock photo, throw some text on it, and say that's your book cover. This is not a good idea. The self-publishers who I work with who are the most successful at this use professional book designers, and you should too. And no, again, just like with editorial services, they are not free or cheap, but they are worth every nickel when you are self-publishing your book. If you want to get into bookstores, libraries, if you want to make a good showing on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, IndieBound, you have to have a striking cover. You have seconds to get a reader's attention with your book cover. I mean, it's literally seconds. You see my bookshelf behind me, these are actually vintage editions of books, but I have tons of contemporary books too. And you've walked through a bookstore, at least I hope that you have, and you've seen, you're drawn to, these eye-popping book covers the second you see them, and you think, I don't even know what that book's about, but oh wow, I want to buy it, right? So that's the same thing for your self-published book. You're fighting for the attention of readers who, are sometimes going to buy a book based on its cover. If you have a really amateurish looking cover, people will judge the book that's inside. You can have a great book, but if you put a lousy cover on it, it will not sell. People will not pick it up. And it will be harder too for you to get into retail venues with your book if it does not look professionally produced. So the key here is professionally produced. Thoughtful book design is critical. You can pay a development editor a ton of money to make your content be fantastic, the best it can be. Don't skimp on book design. Interior layout is very important for readability. You don't want to center your text. You don't want weird margins. You don't want missing headers and, go with a professional book designer. The good news is there are tons of professional book designers, and this is all they do, just like there are tons of professional book editors, and that's all I do, and that's all they do. You can find these people. If you're looking for children's book design, SCWBI, the Society for something something, and I never can remember my acronyms, but I'll acronyms, or even that word. I'll drop a link in the comments like I usually do. If you're looking for an illustrator for a children's book, a book designer, if you're looking for an interior designer for your book and a cover designer for your book, there are tons of places where you can find artists and designers. Behance is one of them where you can find them. Just Google book designers, and there's tons. And again, like with any freelance person that you hire to work on your book, you do need to vet these people. But with designers, it's super easy because they can show you a portfolio of book covers that they've done. They can show you examples of interior book designs that they have done. They should have these things on hand and be ready to show you. In fact, if you go out to their websites, a lot of times you can see their portfolios before you even talk to them. So if you go out to a designer's website and you think, yeah, their style's really not mine, well, then you don't even need to waste their time or yours having a conversation. But if you find a designer's website and you're like, oh, wow, I really like their style. I think this is great. My book's really dynamic, or they seem to do a lot of, covers in genres that I'm writing in. However that turns out, it's so visual that it's even easier than finding a good editor sometimes, I think. And again, if you're working with a freelance designer, you're going to need to pay them fairly and on time, and you're going to want to vet them, and you're going to want to have a conversation, and see if this is a good working relationship for you. And their work is going to be worth every nickel when it comes time to try to sell your book. I've seen people who skimp on cover design and try to do that part themselves too. You know, self-publishing, well, how much self does that really mean? It means that you're the publisher. You know, I've worked for traditional book publishers for years before I went out on my own. And, you know, there's not one person at a traditional publisher who does everything. The publisher at a traditional publisher oversees the operations of a staff of people, of marketing professionals, design professionals, editorial professionals, sales professionals. That's what the publisher at a traditional publisher does. You, as a self-publisher, that's pretty much the same role that you're filling, but you're also the writer. You're going to write this book, but you're going to self-publish it. When you think about yourself as the publisher in self-publisher, you need to look at that as I'm overseeing a team of people who are going to help make my book the best it's going to be. It doesn't mean I'm going to do everything on this book soup to nuts myself, unless you have the talent for that. If you happen to be a great graphic designer, in addition to a fantastic writer, okay, you're still going to need a proofreader though, and we'll talk about that in another video. But most people don't have, you know, I've done everything soup to nuts on a book that there is to do, but I am not a book designer, and I tell people that. I am not a book designer. I leave that to the professionals. To me, it's a different part of your brain when you go to do layout and design, and particularly with cover design. That is a piece of visual art. It really is. You know, the inside of a book design, a pretty basic book design, if you want to learn InDesign and lay your book out yourself, if you want to follow some principles, some really basic principles for readability and clean design, you could probably teach yourself to do that. You know, it's always a question of how much time do I have, and how much money do I have, and how much of both do I want to invest. You can even find InDesign templates online of interior text designs. If you want to go the DIY route on that, you can. Make sure you have a good proofreader. I'm always going to tell you that you need a professional proofreader. You're never going to get out of that one. And I'm always going to tell you that you need a professional cover designer, unless you happen to be a visual designer yourself. So there are corners you can cut for budgetary reasons in the self-pub process, but there are some of them that you just simply cannot cut. And cover design, to me, is one of those corners that just simply can never be cut. If you want your book to shine, the cover, you know, we all do it. I'm dressier this week than I've been in any of my YouTube videos because I happen to be going somewhere later, and so you get this today. You know, we want to put our best foot forward when we're in the world, and you're putting your book out into the world, so let it appear its best as well. If you have questions about how to find a good book designer, as I say in all of my videos, shoot me an email, tweet me, leave me a comment here. I actually know people who I'm happy to recommend. You know, for the right project, I actually know people who've been designing books for many years, and I also know, you know, there's a plethora of websites where you can look for people too. And again, I'll leave those links in the comments. But again, in the self-publishing process, you're the publisher, you're overseeing a team. Part of that team is a really good book designer. So don't skimp on that. We'll be back next time, and I'm going to talk about why you can never, ever, 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 ever skip proofreading. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.